everyone, Grant K here for the Flame Premium Learning channel. In this video, I'm going to cover two changes that are relevant to Actions resolution. This will result in less button pressing, but more functionality with Actions resolution settings in Flame Premium 2015 Extension 2. Even if you are a very experienced Flame artist, this is something you don't want to miss out. Starting off in batch, I have two source clips. One is an HD clip and the other is a 4K clip. I'm going to add a new action node to batch and call up its node preference settings. Now the starting resolution of action is usually tied to the resolution of the current project. But there is a new option called Same as Background. What this means is that as soon as you connect a source clip as a background input, Actions resolution will change to match that source clip. So if I connect the 4K clip into the action background, you can see how Actions resolution has changed. If I connect the HD clip into the action background, the settings will change again. And one more time for good luck, I'll reconnect the 4K clip into the action background. If you look at the result view with F4 and examine the viewer resolution, it will tell you that it is 4K. If you still want to manually change the background, you can click on the Resolution Mode pull-down menu and choose User Defined. This will give you all the same options that you've had in the past. The last thing I would like to point out here is that if I go back to the batch schematic and sever the connection between the 4K clip and action, you will see that the resolution is still persistent in action. But if you do connect another clip to the background, the resolution will change again. So that takes care of Actions input resolution. Let's take a look at what's been done with Actions output resolution. Next to the Action resolution settings in the Preferences menu, you will see a new option called Overscan. By default, it is set to render out at 100%. This means if your resolution is 1080 HD, that's exactly what you'll get as before. But if you increase the percentage, Actions resolution will grow larger. In the result view, the dotted border indicates how much bigger the action output will be. You can compare this to the solid border that is Action's original resolution. If you examine the output resolution, it is 25% larger than 1080 HD. So you can render action composites much larger than they should be. To illustrate the usefulness of the overscan, I have a compositing example, and I'll reset the scale of the overscan. For this shot, I want to replace the photo in this frame. There are many techniques to do this, and I have chosen to stabilize the frame using a perspective grid. Now when the image was stabilized, the frame stays in place, and the rest of the image moves around it. If I scrub the time bar, it is clear that the stabilized plate goes beyond the resolution of action. Now I want to preserve this data so that I can do the comp on this plate and destabilize it afterwards. So I need all the image data without losing any pixels. Simply by increasing the overscan to 125%, my render output will be large enough to keep the entire image. Now this output will be connected into a second action node to do the composite. Remember that just by connecting the output of the first action into the second action, the resolution will be carried over. Looking in my result view, there is a nice composite on a stabilized background. Now this needs to be destabilized to complete the shot. The overscan for this action node is not going to change because I need 100% of the entire frame. If we move over into the last action node in the flow graph, the result has been destabilized with the inverted perspective grid. Now the layer is still 125% larger than the HD frame, but the output resolution of this action is set back to 1080 to give you the final result. So the overscan can have implications in the batch pipeline when it is set to render out. However, there is one last mode that can be equally useful to you. This is called Overscan Internal Processing. Allow me to show how this can affect you. In our final example, I have this action with some 3D text. I've got some blooming highlights bouncing off the 3D geometry. and the text moves across the screen. So initially, you may be thinking, what's the big deal? Well, when it comes to some of Action's post-processing effects, such as ambient occlusions, Gmask edge softness, and blooming, you can easily run into edge rendering issues. Let's take a look. On this frame, you can see that the B and G characters are blooming off screen. But if you render or preview this frame, you will see that the glowing effect vanishes because the actual geometry is out of frame. In reality, you should still see the glow even though the geometry is not visible. In the Overscan settings, you can increase the scale to ensure that the glow is produced correctly. However, the render frame is larger than the original resolution. If you just want to use the Overscan to fix issues within Action, but keep the original Action output resolution, switch the Overscan to internal processing only. This means that all the processing will be done on an oversized frame, but the output will still be the original resolution defined in the Action preferences. If you look at a render or preview of this frame, you can see that the blooming of the letters is visible on the edge of the frame even though the geometry is not visible. I'll reiterate that this can quickly fix edge issues with ambient occlusion, Gmask softness, and blooming without changing the active Action resolution. Comments, feedback, and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Flame Premium Learning channel for future videos.